Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Shakespeare from the Islamic University of Gaza English Department. This is Rifat Al Arir. We continue our hopefully amazing and wonderful journey into Hamlet, and we are reaching, the heart, the climax of the play. The events are getting more and more complicated. The characters are developing. We have new characters. We have new things, new ideas, and we keep thinking, going back to the same ideas we started with Hamlet. There's this interesting thing that, remember, we keep discovering things in Shakespeare, and Hamlet, we keep also discovering things. The more we read, the more we talk about this, the more we think about what's going on in the play. Uh, but what is fascinating about Hamlet as a play, and probably most of Shakespeare's plays, is that Hamlet keeps questions open. The discussions are usually open. You can't close the topic, the subject. You can't say, okay, I'm done with this. This is 100% the case. Hamlet is this and that. Ophelia and this and is this and that. There will always be, the but, the if, the why, the how, the talking about the context, the situation, talking about other possibilities. Many people will talk about this as Shakespeare trying to include layers and layers of meanings in his plays. Shakespeare is never linear. He's never singular. There are always things, implied something, things that can be excavated, so to speak. Uh, Many people will describe this as some kind of, like, they will say, okay, Hamlet is Shakespeare's most complicated play. Maybe yes, but please don't take complicated as something that is impossible to understand or impossible to talk about. Complicated in the sense that you can't easily reach to a conclusion, come to a closure in a particular issue. The issue of the ghost, the death of Hamlet's father, the succession. Yeah, we understand it in different ways. We can always agree to disagree. That's the interesting thing. And if there will always be questions for you to think, to give your opinion. Is Hamlet sane? You could say yes, you could say no. You could spend hours and hours supporting your argument that has Hamlet is clinically insane. And then you could spend also hours and hours defending Hamlet in a way and saying, no, Hamlet is not insane because this and that, the ghost and Ophelia and Gertrude, how much blame would you put on Gertrude and why? And this makes Hamlet interesting. It's the play that keeps giving and giving. You will always listen to people's ideas and comments. I hope some of you are watching some of the classes or lectures available on YouTube by Shakespeare specialists. You will always find interesting ideas. Last time we started Act 1, and we spoke a little bit about Act 1, Scene 2. Today we will continue talking about the scene described as the longest scene in the whole play, and it's also the longest prose. There's a lot of prose here in this particular. Remember, Shakespeare, and not only Shakespeare, people before him and sometime after him, the drama was written in verse, mainly in blank verse. Blank means verse, it's poetry, but it doesn't have the regular rhyme scheme we see in poetry, in the sonnet or other kind of poetry, because this is closer to everyday conversational life speech. So Hamlet himself shifts from the poetic role he played before into a more prose. And this could be because Hamlet suffered huge losses: his father, his mother, the crown, his dignity, his identity, uh, Ophelia, and probably the encounter with the ghost itself was some kind of. So this could, because he's suffering psychologically speaking, he can't speak poetry. Or it could be because Hamlet, who told us he is pretending to be insane, he will be pretending so as to trick the king. So he's feigning madness. If he talks eloquently, articulately, people say, how come somebody speaks perfect English and insane at the same time? It doesn't add up. However, it doesn't mean that his it doesn't mean if it's prose, it's not poetic. It is poetic, and the ideas will be as profound. Hamlet didn't lose his poeticality. He didn't lose his wit either. Now, remember how Hamlet used made fun of Polonius. He described. I love this description. These tedious fools. Those tedious means boring, dull, colorless. He describes him, and this comes at a moment when we ourselves have some kind of similar reaction to Polonius. I'll talk more about this in a bit. And again, this is one of the reasons why I personally love Hamlet. He reacts to things, to people, to events the way we do even now in the 21st century. So there is a lot of us in Hamlet, and there is a lot of Hamlet in us. So we know that Polonius is a horrible, horrible father. Remember, he sold his daughter cheap. Even the expressions he used. Remember when he mocked her love, her relationship with Hamlet, poof, affection. And then he ordered her to stop loving him, to return all the letters. And then he said he promised the king to lose Ophelia to him, يطلق Ophelia على Hamlet. And also, when she came harassed by Hamlet, attacked by Hamlet, threatened by Hamlet, he was like, mad for thy love. Oh, let's go and kill until the king. So Shakespeare himself makes fun of Polonius. He presents him as a tedious, ranting old fool. And the audience, by the way, the audience may not like we. Hamlet makes fun of him many times. There will be other encounters where where Hamlet continues making fun of Polonius. But as audience, as readers, as people who are watching this, we know, yes, we laugh probably momentarily, but we know that this man is a heartless, cruel father. We always remember this. So Hamlet insults him, he makes fun of him, he abuses him, he makes him the butt of many jokes, and he at the same time keeps provoking him by insulting Ophelia, describing her as a prostitute. But that doesn't make him angry or anything. What kind of father is this? So this is one thing we appreciate about Hamlet. He hates authority. He hates those people. The people we dislike, Hamlet dislikes. So when he leaves in the middle of the scene, sometime in the middle of the scene, Hamlet says, these tedious fools, old fools. And then we have Matt and Pat. Please don't call them Matt and Pat. I call them Matt and Pat. زي زينجو رينجو. If you know زينجو رينجو صور متحركة قبل 100 years ago. Guildenstern and Rosencrantz. Remember, they are Hamlet's childhood friends. They were used by the king. They were promised by the queen money to go and spy on Hamlet. Look at how interesting the king is, how cunning he is. He's not only using Polonius, probably he's using other people to do the same thing. And look at how interesting Hamlet. Remember, Hamlet was a great friend. When he met Horatio, he was so happy to see him. And even when he was welcoming his friend Horatio, he didn't forget to welcome the strangers, Marcellus and the other guy. And he said, my excellent good friends, my good friends, my excellent friends, how dost thou? How are you? Ah, Rosencrantz, good lads, how do you, he says, how dost thou, Guildenstern? Ah, Rosencrantz, good lads, how do you both? But nowadays we don't say how do you, we say how are you? But that's Shakespeare, that's Middle English. And then Hamlet, it seems, can see through these two idiots' minds. He thinks, he guesses that they are not here just to, to talk about the past, to reminisce, to cherish those old memories together. And Hamlet continues. Look at this prose. Remember, how do we know that this is prose? It does not begin with a capital letter. So this is prose. And Hamlet talks about, he tells them, what brings you to this prison? She sends you to prison hither. And Guildenstern, prison, my lord? Sijin? And Hamlet says one of the most interesting again. Remember, people mix this with something is rotten in the state of Denmark. That was said by Marcellus, not Hamlet. Hamlet said this beautiful, short, but I would say divisive statement, decisive statement. Denmark's a prison. Denmark's a prison. He's the prince. He's a rich guy. He's young. He's full of life, etc. But he is imprisoned. Then is the world one? I always find these people, we have friends like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, بتكون انت في موضوع and they talk about something else. Somewhere in the middle of your talk, storytelling or something, they interrupt you and they say things that don't read, and you just look at them. It's like, then is the world one? Is the world a prison? The world could be something else, and Denmark could be something else. They don't have to be the same. And then Hamlet says, a goodly one, a huge one, in which there are many confines, many wards, many dungeon. Dungeon, yani jahim. There are many prisons, many cells. Denmark being one of the worst. So Denmark, when they question his statement, he says Denmark is one of the worst prisons, not only a prison. And they disagree. And look at remember when the king said Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and then the queen said Guildenstern and Rosencrantz, and this is a funny joke that nobody can tell them apart. And look at how they speak. Rosencrantz says, "We think not so, my lord. We disagree. If you disagree, you said I disagree." And this is part of the joke, how Shakespeare gives us two people who are basically the same. And then Hamlet, probably the way they speak, the way they behave, interesting thing. When you watch this on YouTube, you will find how silly these characters. And Hamlet, openly to their faces, asks them if they were sent for. You were sent for directly. Confess. There is a kind confession in your looks. Yani, some people can't lie. He's telling them you're not good liars. وبيحلفهم بيقول let me conjure you by the rights of our fellowship, by the consonancy of our youth, by the obligation of our ever preserved love, etc., etc. Be even and direct with me. Tell the truth. Be straight. Be honest. And they confess. He doesn't beat them. He doesn't threaten them. Al-Matra, they confess. And for many people, if yani, they should have taken some time, and at least they should have spied on Hamlet for one scene, two scenes, or one act, and then Hamlet discovers them very quickly. Why is Shakespeare bringing them? Interesting. So, my lord, we were sent for. We were sent for, yani, مبعوثين نتجسس عليك. We are spying, and they tell him. And then Hamlet goes into the most beautiful speech, maybe equally beautiful, like compared to be or not to be, equally important, equally significant, equally beautiful, eloquent, قمة في الجمال. But there are two misconceptions here about this speech. One, many people think it's a soliloquy. It's not. He said it in front of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. إلا إذا أنتم بتعتبروا Rosencrantz and Guildenstern mindless people, silly people, so as if Hamlet is alone on the stage. I don't know, but that's a stretch. And two, people think it's poetry. It's not. It's prose. How can you tell it's prose? Look at the first letter. Is it capital? That's simple. That's simplistic even. So this is prose. Next class, I want one of you to try, one or you two, to try to translate this into Arabic, or to try to deliver it, recite it. And then he tells them, he exposes some of his inner thoughts. And I like people who think this is a soliloquy, they have a point because these are very, very, very intimate ideas. Ideas similar to the ones we have seen in soliloquy 1, soliloquy 2, and we will see in soliloquy 3 and even soliloquy 4, to be or not to be. Very intimate, as if there are no. But Shakespeare makes it like makes Hamlet deliver this with people on the stage for a purpose. I'll show this to you in a bit. In a genius, a stroke of genius, عبقرة. I will tell you why. Like they ask him, what's wrong with you? Why are you there? So shall my anticipation prevent your discovery and you secrecy to the king and queen moult no feather? I have of late, but wherefore I know not why, I know not, lost all my mirth. I have lost all my mirth, mirth, happiness, joy. Why? I don't know why. I can't tell. We know he knows, but he's not revealing these secrets for those people. Forgone all customs of exercises, all pleasures. I lost all pleasures, all joy, all mirth. And indeed, it goes so heavily with this, my disposition, that this godly frame, the earth. Now he's contemplating the beauty, the creation of the earth, this goodly frame, the earth seems to me as sterile, nothing, sterile, nothing, futile, promontory. This most excellent canopy, canopy is like the cover, the sky, the air. Look you, look. This brave or changing firmament. Firmament means the sky. The sky. Look at this or changing. السماء انظروا إلى السماء المتقلبة. This majestical roof كأنها سقف رائع رهيب. Fretted with golden fire. You know, fretted like dotted. منقط بنار ذهبية منار من ذهب. Why? Why it appears no other thing to me but a foul and pestilent congregation of vapors. To me, it's nothing. It's a foul and pestilent, disgusting, ugly, dirty, nothing, horrible. Congregation, group, congregate of vapors. To me, it's just vapor. كأنها بخار حقير لا شيء. I really wanted to read this first and then the second part because this is the more famous part of Hamlet's speech. And then he goes into what a piece of work is a man. What a piece of work. كأنه تحفة فنية. الإنسان, human being, man, people. We are a miracle. The way we're created, the way we think, the way we behave, the eyes, the heart, the mind, the memories, how everything works. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in moving, in form, in moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Man delights me not. So it begins with, what a piece of work. ما أرهب ما أعظم الإنسان كأنه تحفة فنية. It's God's masterpiece. The best thing, the best creature ever created by God for many things. Because man has all the good, the great things from all other creatures, from the angels, from the animals. But look at this fantastic structure of this speech. How parallel it is, how balanced it is, the order. How noble, look at this, how noble in reason. How plus adjective plus prepositional phrase. How infinite in faculty. How plus adjective plus prepositional phrase. In form, prepositional. In moving, prepositional phrase. How express and admirable. Everything is well structured. This beauty, this beautiful structure of the sentence of the speech mirrors the fascinating, majestical structure of the creation of man. In action, how like an angel. In apprehension, how like a god. The beauty of the world, the paragon of animals. And then all of this beauty, Hamlet is disillusioned. He's frustrated. He's lost everything, everything, literally. Even these two childhood friends, they came to spy on him. He's giving up on humanity. And yet, what is this quintessence of dust? Man, at the end of the day, is a quintessence of dust. حبة حفنة غبار تراب. And look at the beautiful poetic, it's not poetry, but it's a poetic language, the structure. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form, in moving, how expressed and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon, animals. And then all this beauty, all this majesty is disrupted by, and yet to me, what is this quintessence of dust? Even the word quintessence of dust, it's like the essence of dust. We, at the end of the day, we were created from dust. We were made from dust, and we will end up as dust, nothing, dust. Man delights not me. And man is man and woman, al-insan, al-mar. And I honestly, when I first read this, oh my God, Hamlet, please keep going on. This is the best you could ever. Honestly, I love this more than I love To Be or Not to Be. And then all of a sudden, he changes into something like, man delights me not, no, nor woman neither. So, not the man and not the woman. Why does he do this? Why does he shift? Why does he have to clarify? We know that when he says man, he means human beings. Though by your smiling you seem to say so. Before I go back to this, I just want to connect this to what was going on in Elizabethan England in the Renaissance. In the Renaissance, during Queen Elizabeth, when Shakespeare was writing this, many people thought that humanity reached the pinnacle of development and civilization in science, in thought, in philosophy, in geography, in astronomy, astrology, everything, and everything. They thought that this is the top, this is the limit that humanity can reach. And many people believed in something called humanism. Humanism, in essence, is that at the end of the day, people are good. In essence, we are all good. And we will always, if given something good, something bad, we will always choose the good thing, the good path. But it wasn't true. Everybody would choose the easier way. That sometimes the easier way, it's evil. We've seen this in Macbeth. He kills the king. We've seen this in Othello, how Iago managed to manipulate Othello. So this belief in man, in humanity, and how it's going to develop to become perfect, no wars, no fightings, no poverty, no illnesses, no diseases, everything evaporated, everything was lost. There was what is called disillusionment, خيبة أمل, frustration. And Hamlet is mirroring this, and Shakespeare is mirroring this. Man, oh my God. Hamlet himself is a piece of work. Hamlet, the character and the play. But at the end of the day, he can't take a decision. He can't choose. Because we are all a quintessence of dust. So when we want Hamlet to go on, please go on. All of a sudden he says, man delights me not. Man delights not me, no, nor woman neither. Though by your smiling you seem to say so. For a moment we forget about Pat and Matt. So it seems when Hamlet said, man delights me not, واحد منهم الخيبات ايش سوى? He smiled. And I'm like, man delights you not. Maybe women do. Maybe you like women in this very stupid way that comes in after this beautiful, the best thing ever written, perhaps. And we have this, by the way. We have friends who keep. Sometimes you are at home. Your grandmother is telling you a story, something. I remember this when we were little. Probably this happened to us 100 times. You're listening to your grandmother's story or grandfather's story or somebody's story. You are enjoying everything, and then somebody interrupts, and you are too small to ask. She forgets to continue, and you are too small, too little to tell her, "Grandma, can you continue?" And you can't. You can't have the story. You don't know what happened. Maybe some of you still live until this very day with incomplete stories because some stupid, some dumb, silly little kid interrupted the speaker, the storyteller. And this is what Shakespeare is doing with those people. I honestly, I don't hate any fictional character as much as I hate Rosencrantz and Guildenstern because they interrupted Hamlet. I wanted Hamlet to go on for hours and hours, continuing this beauty. Oh, how angry I am! And this is very beautiful. In the movie production of Hamlet by Mel Gibson, you know Mel Gibson. This is the guy who interrupted Hamlet, and I honestly don't want to know whether it was Rosencrantz or Guildenstern. I want to hate them equally. But if you look at them, this is dumb. This is silly. But the producer played it very well. The way he looks, the way he laughs at a time when he's talking about this beautiful thing. Oh, please go. Probably I can share the video from YouTube and see how amazing Mel Gibson was delivering this speech and how silly these people were interrupting him. Oh. So my Rosencrantz, this is Rosencrantz, he said, "My lord, there was not such stuff in my thoughts." Why did you laugh then when I said man delights me not, delights not me? And then about his name, Polonius comes again, and something totally new happens, takes place in the place. Unexpected, unpredicted. A group of players come to Elsinore, to Denmark. And Hamlet is kind of reborn again. He finds life, he finds joy, he finds purpose. And this is something we discover about Hamlet. The interesting thing, look again, Hamlet continues to make fun of Polonius. So when Hamlet sees the actors coming, the group of actors coming, Polonius says, "My lord, I have news for you." Remember what the king said about Polonius? The father of good news. So he's reminding us, "My lord, I have news to tell you." Hamlet is mirroring him. And Polonius says, "The actors are coming hither, my lord." And Hamlet, because he can see them, buzz, buzz. Buzz, buzz means, yani, tell me something I don't know. Again, making fun of him. I'm sure the audiences would have, cracked. Buzz, buzz. Tell me something I don't know, you old fool. And again, Polonius does something interesting here. Look at how he keeps ranting, talks about things that, in a way, Shakespeare doesn't like his plays to be classified in a particular way. Study them, watch them, enjoy them. But look at this old tedious fool, how he describes about the plays. So the best actors in the world, and he lists all the sorts of plays. And I think Shakespeare is making fun of the people who want to force the plays into particular classifications. So tragedy, comedy, history, pastoral, pastoral comical, historical, pastoral, tragical, historical, tragical, blah 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 blah, etc. So what do the actors do to the play? They bring, number one, a comical relief. Number two, they bring something in Hamlet we didn't see before. Hamlet the poet, Hamlet the lover, Hamlet the playwright, Hamlet the dramatist. And at the same time, they give Hamlet a way out of this mess. Hamlet is now in a dilemma. Okay, my father died, and a ghost tells me I have to kill my uncle because my uncle, and he can't do anything about it. We said last time because maybe the king is heavily guarded because he's the king. It's not easy, or because Hamlet stopped. Remember at the beginning he said the ghost is honest, but now probably he forgot. Although the ghost kept saying, remember me, remember me. So when the traveling troupe of players arrived in Elsinore, Hamlet became a new Hamlet. We learn here that Hamlet enjoys theater and he loves the drama. Hamlet discusses the player's arrival. For a moment, he loses his melancholy, his sadness, and he shows interest in something other than his problems, in art, in fiction, in literature. He shows genuine pleasure, and he talks and he memorizes. He knows some long extracts by heart. We'll talk about this in a bit. So this is new information about Hamlet's character. The insight tells us something that we didn't know before. Remember, Hamlet is a scholar, but he's also a lover, and a quick wit, and a joker, and a friend, and a loyal son, and a prince, but also he's a patron of theater. When he saw them, he said, okay, I want you to play something for the king and the queen. He's a poet, he's a playwright. This brings some kind of relief to us. The darkness, the tragedy needs a little bit of relief. Now, Polonius, remember, he's the old man we all dislike. When Hamlet narrates from memory a long speech at the beginning, he's like, wow, this is impressive. And then Hamlet goes on to read another long speech he knows by heart. And then Polonius, of all the people, complains that this is too long. And look at what tricky thing Shakespeare is doing. Listen, many people accuse Shakespeare of writing very long plays. Shakespeare's longest play is Hamlet, 4,000 lines, of which Hamlet utters 1,500. So when Hamlet recalls a line, a speech he memorizes, Polonius of all people complains. He says this is too long. Now, deep in our hearts, أغلبنا, most people think that Hamlet is long and complain that Hamlet is long. But in a genius way, Shakespeare is trying to, remember, we dislike Polonius. We hate him actually for what he did to his daughter, because he keeps talking and ranting and ranting. So when Polonius says this is too long, we try to avoid Polonius. We try to avoid being like Polonius. We try to avoid sharing common interest, common understanding, common ideas with Polonius. As if Shakespeare is telling us, be careful. If you think Hamlet is too long, or Hamlet, the character, is being too long, you will end up like Polonius, tedious old fool. So this achieves many things, one of which is to make us avoid being like Polonius, whom we hate for his rants and tedious speeches and for what he did to Ophelia. The goal here from Shakespeare is for us to never complain about the length of the play. Because if we do, we will end up sharing Polonius's thoughts. Now, before I give you some time to talk, Hamlet indulges in his third soliloquy. Alone on the stage, Hamlet reproaches himself. He shows how he's despising himself. That he's kind of like, in a way, attacking himself for not doing what should be done, killing the king. He accuses himself of being an ass, of being a coward, because he can't do this. But then at the end of the day, he has a plan. Okay, maybe I can use the theater, the play, and we'll talk about this later on. So he says, I am alone. Oh, what a rogue and peasant slave I am. I'm a slave. Is this because in the speech narrated by one of the players, there was a fictional king and a fictional queen, and a story similar to that of Hamlet. And Hamlet says, oh my God, this fictional character, fictional love, fictional relationship, it's more genuine than my love and my relationship to my father. So, but in fiction, in a dream of passion, could force his soul so to his own conceit that from her working all his visage wan, tears in his eyes, distraction. He said, look at this highlighted yellow here. He would drown the stage with tears. Talk about Hecuba. For Hecuba, what's Hecuba to him and what's he to Hecuba? Yet أما أنا dull. I am dull. مش أنا dull يعني ممل. Dull in the sense of like يعني فاتر. Dull, unmuddy, mettled rascal. Peak like John at dreams, unpregnant of my cause. I don't believe in my cause, it seems. and can say nothing. No, not for a king upon whose property and most dear life a damned defeat was made. Am I a coward? I like that he's asking a question because some of us will say, no, Hamlet, you're not. You're different. You're not made to be a murderer who calls me villain, breaks my pate across, plucks off my beard and blows it in my face. You know, it's like pluck my beard, take my beard, my hair here, and throw it in my face. Tweaks me by the nose, make fun of me, and then with this slaves of foul bloody body villain again attacking Claudius, a remorseless, treacherous, lecherous, kindless villain, oh vengeance trying to motivate himself. Why? What an ass am I. كانوا بقول ما أحمرني يعني. What an ass am I. I'm stupid. I'm an idiot. I'm a coward. This is most brave that I, the son of a dear father murdered, prompted to my revenge by heaven and hell, even heaven and hell allows me to take revenge fie upon it. And then he moves to the last part here. I'll have, and then in a way, he wants, like, remember, Hamlet is a man of science, of learning, of education. A ghost telling him, and at a time when people, not everybody believed in ghosts, you can't go to the court and tell him, hey, a ghost told me that Claudius killed. You can't accuse the king simply of murder. That's simple. I'll have, and then he has a plan. I'll have these players. Players means actors. Play something like the murder of my father. يعني على المطرح he wrote a play. He prepared a play. He's going to produce a play. ألف مسرحية على المطرح. Before mine uncle, in front of my uncle, and I'll observe his looks. I'll tint him to the quick. If he but blench, I know my course. If he reacts in a particular way, I will be, definite. I will be certain. I will have evidence that he killed my father. The spirit that I have seen, remember he said the spirit was honest, but now he says the spirit that I have seen may be evil, and the devil hath, maybe the devil, and the devil hath the power to assume a pleasing shape. So maybe this is Satan that came in my father's shape. He perhaps out of my weakness and my melancholy, as he is very potent with such spirits, abuses me to damn me. So he's now questioning the ghost, the spirit. He wants a scientific kind of proof. He wants concrete evidence. How can he do it? He wants to perform a play similar to old Hamlet, probably how he died, and Hamlet's mother and Gertrude in front of the king, the new king Claudius, and he wants to see how he reacts. And he ends with this beautiful, beautiful couplet. More relative than this, the play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. The play's the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. And Hamlet he's dreamy, he's a poet, he's interesting. And this is one reason why many people say Hamlet is Shakespeare. Here, Hamlet believes in the strength of literature, in the power of words, in the power of drama and plays and the stage and the theater. To make people, he believes that if I make a play, perform a play similar to what happened to my father, like told to me by the ghost, the king himself will react in a particular way. Maybe he will start crying, maybe he'll run away, and then I'll have evidence. So the third soliloquy, he reveals the thoughts. This is a lot of full of reproach, ta'neeb, for his failure. He accuses himself of being a coward, an ass. There is a lot of self-hate here when he shouts, what an ass am I? He says, I have a father, a good father who deserves revenge. The play is the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king, and that's Hamlet's play, because he wants evidence. He wants to catch the conscience of the king. He wants Claudius, proof of Claudius's guilty conscience. He wants the king to confess in a way, because now we are told by Hamlet he's not 100% convinced that the spirit was good. Although he said it was honest at the beginning. Now he says it could be Satan, the devil, Satan's work. So the play could reveal the guilt of the king. But remember, this is not an easy thing. Killing the king, accusing the king, is not an easy thing because it could have dire consequences on the whole for the whole state. Hamlet hesitated. He has a point. He needs evidence. He's a man of learning, a man of education. Now he wants concrete evidence to justify the mission of killing the king. Yalla, if you have ideas, please, if you have, before I go, say something about Act 2, Scene 2. Ahmed, go on. You raise your hand first.
Yes, I have a question actually. Like he said, am I a coward? And then, what an ass I am. And before he said, peasant slave I am. Why Hamlet keeps insulting himself?
Uh, that's again interesting. This is called self-reproach. It could be number one because he wants to motivate himself. We do this all the time. Sometimes when you go to bed, you say, "Oh my God, ليش أنا هيك يا الله? Why am I this way? Why don't I study?" Oh. We motivate ourselves by insulting ourselves sometimes. But number two, because this job, this is a man who lost his father, and he said, "This is a good father. My father deserves revenge." But he doesn't talk of justice because remember, he believes those people believe that Denmark is a prison. There's no justice there. Denmark is rotten, and the king is manipulating everybody. So there is no justice. If there is no justice, you seek revenge. So I think these could be two reasons why he is insulting himself. Reem?
Yes, I would ask two things if possible. So the first is why did Hamlet hate Denmark that much? Like, or this begins excessively after his father's death and he losing the
It's
throne. I would
it's
say,
I go on, yeah.
yeah, I would say it was like good that he didn't succeed his father. He keeps
I
insulting
don't
his
think
own
that,
state.
okay, thank you. That's a very interesting thing. I don't think he hates Denmark per se, like Denmark the state. Probably he hates the political corrupt regime, the political system that allowed for a corrupt person like Claudius to be the king. We do this like as Palestinians when you feel you don't have your chance, you can't find a job, you start insulting your country. You love the country, and like Ahmed said, you insult the thing you love. You insult yourself sometimes as a kind of motivation. So we do this. We criticize Gaza, Palestine all the time. We say, "Oh, what a horrible place this is." But we don't mean to turn into enemies or the enemy of this place. We usually criticize the politicians, the leaders, the political system, the unemployment rates, the situation. I don't think
Yes.
he means to insult Denmark as Denmark, like he hates everything, everybody in Denmark or something. But don't forget also that Hamlet has lost everything. Even these two fools, his old school childhood friends, are turning against him. So he can't find peace in this place. Okay, I'll pose this question before I move to in the remaining minutes to something in the next scene. Hamlet, many people, I believe in the power of word, the power of literature, and the power of art and the stage and everything. And Shakespeare does believe in this to change, to revolutionize, to affect, to expose. Now, Shakespeare talks about this. Here, Hamlet, Shakespeare in Hamlet, through Hamlet, shows us how Hamlet strongly believes in the power of fiction and the stage and the drama and literature to change people, to affect people, to expose people at the same time. I want you to go back to this scene, read the dialogue between Hamlet and the players, the actors, and see if you agree, if Hamlet is realistic in his belief that fiction affects and or exposes us. Because he said the play is the thing wherein I'll catch the conscience of the king. Can you catch people through literature? Can you change people through literature? I wasn't expecting an answer now because I leave this for you, but Rawan, you raised your hand, so go on if you want to say something.
I have a question. We all know that Hamlet decided to feign madness, and he showed some sort of it in front of Polonius. But in front of his childhood friends, he was not. Although he know that they are spies. But his speech was very poetic, and he spoke wisely. Then did he forget, or he made this on purpose?
But okay, I love this. That's a very interesting thing. I don't have the answer actually, but thank you for paying attention. This is really cool. Number one, uh, 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 he doesn't use poetry. He uses poetic language. So there is something about the way he speaks. Number two, uh, when he pushed his friends to confess, he kind of believed that maybe now they're not going to, say things that would harm him to the king. Okay. And again, number three, I think Hamlet doesn't want to be a complete if he is pretending. So if he is not mad, he's not mad. If he is pretending, he doesn't want to be pretending to be mad all the time. He wants to be, fluctuate to fluctuate between madness, between sanity and insanity. So maybe the king doesn't doubt that, oh, nobody can go completely insane in just 1 week or 1 month. But that's a very interesting thing. You can keep digging further into this. Type scene act 3 scene 1 is perhaps, again, remember in Shakespeare we have 5 acts, and usually act 3 is the most significant because it includes the climax, the most important events, and then we have the resolution and uh, the ending, going to the ending. In this scene we have Hamlet's most famous soliloquy, his fourth soliloquy, with the most significant, most famous, most widely spread, most quoted English line of verse, to be or not to be, that is the question. But today we're not going to discuss this. We leave this until next session. So Polonius, what happens here is that Polonius and Claudius, the king and his advisor, they eavesdrop, they spy on Hamlet and Ophelia. Look at how Ophelia is being used by her father and by the king. They want to have more evidence. Look at this. Everybody wants more evidence to discover if really, indeed, Ophelia's rejection is why Hamlet is behaving in an interesting way, in a crazy way. And the scene is heartbreaking. It is filled with pain and loss. It is filled with the pain of lost love. These are true lovers, people who could have ended up differently. Polonius, in a sense, is convinced that Hamlet's madness is due to neglected love, unreciprocated love. And he suggests that Gertrude talk to your son. Claudius suspects that Hamlet's madness has other origins. Yeah, it could be because of Ophelia, but also it could be because of the lost kingdom, the lost chance to be the crown. And because he's cunning, as a precaution, he decides to send Hamlet to England. And this is an interesting thing, how Shakespeare brings England into this play. We'll see how he talks about England later on. So this is part of the speech in the opening lines of the scene. Again, how they will use Ophelia here, how the women are meek. And the king here talks to Gertrude, and Gertrude says, look, exactly like Ophelia did, I shall obey you. And for you, and for your part, Ophelia, I do wish that your good beauties be the happy cause of Hamlet's wildness. I wish that it's because of you he is going insane. So shall I hope your virtues will bring him to his wonted way again, to both your honors. Clearly, she doesn't know what's going on. Clearly, she doesn't know Gertrude. She doesn't know the plan between Polonius and Claudius. She doesn't know that Polonius told Ophelia to stop, to reject Hamlet, and that she can't go back to him. So she says, if it is because of you he is wild. لاحظوا كيف استخدام الجميل. The kinglet describes Hamlet as insane, as mad, transformed. But the queen said changed, and now she says Hamlet's wildness. How mothers always love their kids no matter what. And Ophelia says, Madam, I wish it may be. And then we go to this speech, to be or not to be, which we'll come to next session, because we don't have enough time for this. But we'll focus on something else. Again, the relationship between Ophelia and Hamlet. And Hamlet treats her very harshly, because Hamlet actually was going on to this, to be or not to be. And then at the end, he sees Ophelia, fair Ophelia, he calls her. And then the dialogue ensues. She says, Hamlet, she gives him the letters that she says here are your letters. Receive them. You sent them to me. He says, no, not I. I never gave you aught. I never gave you anything. My honored lord, you know right well you did, and with them words of sweet breath composed, as made the things more rich. You wrote me poetry. You sent me perfume. You sent me gifts. Take these again, for to the noble mind rich gifts walks poor, when givers prove unkind. You are unkind to me. I don't want your letters anymore. Ha, ha, are you honest? My lord, are you fair? What means you, lordship? This doesn't help Hamlet. Probably when he saw her, he thought that, oh, there could be a way out. There, Ophelia again, maybe we can get back together back again. He keeps insulting her. He doesn't have mercy on her at all. Truly, for the power of beauty will sooner transform honesty, what it is to be bold, than the force of honesty can translate beauty into his likeness. Indeed, my lord, you made me believe. He says, I did love you once. Wow. Look at this, the emphasis here. Not I loved you, I did love you once. And her reply also doesn't help. Remember, Hamlet so far doesn't know that people are spying on him. But Ophelia is self-conscious. She knows. So this may not be Ophelia's true, genuine feelings towards Hamlet. So I did love you once. Indeed, my lord, you made me believe so. And her, like, it's like, I don't believe you did. You just tricked me. You made me believe so. And Hamlet gets even angrier and angrier. Get thee to a nunnery. You know, a nunnery, a nun, women who dedicate themselves to God, to the church, who never marry, you know, no feelings, no emotions, no love, no lust. Get thee to a nunnery. You don't deserve to live among us. Why wouldst thou be a breeder of sinners? Because you are a liar. You're deceiving me. You're leaving me. You're a horrible person. Get thee to a nunnery. Don't marry. Don't have children. If you have children, they will be sinners. They will be horrible people. He continues this attack against her. Go thy ways to a nunnery. This is called the nunnery scene, in which Hamlet and Ophelia come for the first time. Last time, remember, you said we didn't see them talk. We see them talk, but sadly, Ophelia is self-conscious because she knows the king and her father are eavesdropping. And there is here a difference between critics. All of a sudden, remember how with Polonius, Hamlet kept, you know, do you have a daughter? Have you a daughter? And now he says, where is your father? For many people, because Polonius is stupid, we'll see this later, many critics believe that Hamlet must have or could have seen of Polonius hiding behind the curtain, or must have felt that Ophelia is not being herself. So he guessed that he's smart, that her father could be spying. فسألها, where is your father? Just to double check. And then she says, he's at home or somewhere. And he has more evidence that she is a liar. Oh my God. If thou dost marry, I'll give thee this plague for thy dowry. Be thou as chaste as ice, as pure as snow. Thou shalt not escape calumny. Get thee to a nunnery, go, farewell. Or if thou wilt needs marry, marry a fool. For a wise man, for wise men know well enough what monsters you make of them. You are a horrible person. You make them monsters, people monsters. So marry a fool. To a nunnery thee go, and quickly to farewell. And there's something here I think I missed quoting here. I didn't quote it. And Hamlet shouts, not sure if he does it. Where does he do this? Sorry, I didn't highlight this. I wanted to highlight it, but okay, there it is. So he says, "Oh heavenly powers, restore him." يعني ربنا يرجع عليك عقلك. So she believes he's mad, he's insane, he's lost it, and he's probably, she is one reason, she's the main reason why he is behaving this way. She's lying to him, she's rejecting him, she says she's doubting his love. I have I have heard of paintings too well enough. God hath given you one face and you make yourselves another. ربنا أعطاك وجه, but you make yourself another. You being a hypocrite, a liar. You jig, you amble, and you lisp, and the nickname God's creatures, and make your wantonness, your ignorance. Go to, I'll no more on it. It hath made me mad. I say, we will have no more marriages. Because he talks, okay, don't marry because you'll have sinners and horrible people. If you marry, marry a fool, because wise men will turn into monsters because you are a horrible person. And then clearly here he sees the king, or at least, Polonius, and he says, we will have no marriages. I will not marry, you will not marry. And he says something interesting. Those that are married already, all but one shall live. Probably shouting something for the king to hear. Those that are married already, أولئك المتزوجين, all but one shall live. بس واحد منهم بده يعيش. And again, I find this interesting. Remember, because there was no reference to Polonius being married to Ophelia's mother. So this is also another direct threat. The rest shall keep as they are. To a nunnery go. Go. I'll read this, and then we can come back to this next week. Ophelia. This is the most honest and sincere things uttered by Ophelia. Look at the poet here. It was all prose, exchanging words, there's no poetry here. Ophelia, Hamlet leaves, and Ophelia, in a small soliloquy, talks genuinely to us. Her father is not listening, spying, or eavesdropping. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful poetry. Oh, what a noble mind. She really does love Hamlet. The way she talks about him, the way she talks about their relationship, it's heartbreaking. Oh, what a noble mind is here, all thrown, the courtiers, the soldiers, the scholars, eye, tongue, sword. She knows that Hamlet is a courtier, he's a soldier, he's a scholar. His eye, his tongue, his sword, everything. The expectancy and rose of the fair state, the glass of fashion and the mold of form, the observed of all observers, quiet, down, gone. And I of ladies most deject and wretched, أنا غلبانة منيلة. I'm deject, I am wretched, that sucked the honey of his music vows. I listen to his music, I listen to his vows. Now see that noble and most sovereign reason, like sweet bells jangled. عقله يعني مهوي زي الجرس بطنطن هيك. It doesn't have, out of tune and harsh. It's no longer music. His language, the way he speaks, the way he behaves. What a beautiful simile here. Like sweet bells jangled, out of tune and harsh, the unmatched form and feature of blown youth, blasted with ecstasy. Oh, woe is me, Ya waylati, to have seen what I have seen, see what I see. She is also in pain. Sadly, when we talk about Hamlet, we usually forget to give much talk to Ophelia. She deserves a lot. How much do we blame her? How much is she to blame? How would you react to her father doing this to her? Oh, woe me, to have seen what I have seen. See what I see. Oh my God. And then the king says, a little was not like madness, so he could be mad. There is melancholy here. I have a quick determination with speed to England. I want to send him to England. And again, Polonius, seeing what he saw, hearing what he heard. How now, Ophelia? You need not tell us what Lord Hamlet said. We heard it all. We were spying on you. Look at the word spying and hearing and ear here. And he agrees with the king that Hamlet should be sent to England. And the whole scene ends with the king saying, it shall be so. Madness in great ones must not unwatched go. Polonius before said, what did he say? Something like, though this be madness, there is method in it. He's mad, but there's method in it. And he's mad in an interesting way. And now the king says this could be because of Ophelia, but there could be other reasons. So the best way is to send him to England. We'll know, it's Ishmana England. Why England? We'll see later on. Madness in great ones must not unwatched go. So he fears that maybe this is not madness. This is not real madness. Okay, I'll give you time, probably 3 minutes to comment. I'll post these questions. Maybe we can give you time. Next session we'll discuss to be or not to be, that just to be or not to be, and we'll see one or two of you reciting it, and one or two translating it. But please, when you translate, don't go and copy translations from the internet from other books. If you find something difficult, I always say this to the students, if you find something difficult, it means you are learning. So don't feel bad or sad if you find it difficult to translate. Translate it, give your own translation, try to understand the meanings, read the analysis, the interpretation, and when you finish, if you want to compare with other translations, you can do that. So these are two debates. After that, we can have you talk about this. Is Hamlet mad? How? Why? What implications does that have? Is Hamlet feigning madness? How and why? What implication does that have on him, on Ophelia, on the whole play? And number two, how much do you blame Hamlet and how much do you blame Ophelia for the love's labor's lost? There's a play by Shakespeare, Love's Labor's Lost. So how much do you blame Ophelia? How much do you blame Hamlet? And who else do you blame?
Can I answer?
For that? No, these questions are for next session. Okay, so if you want to comment on this encounter between Hamlet and Ophelia, or what Hamlet said, or what Ophelia said, or what the king and what's his name? The king and Polonius did spying. Go on. Somebody, do you want to say something, or do you want to stop here? Okay, Mariam, briefly. Go on. We can't hear you, Mariam. Yara, go on.
What I want to say is that I can't really blame Ophelia of her character.
Yara,
Yeah.
Don't try to answer the question about the debate. If you have something else, say it, so we can have more time for the debate by next session.
I want to ask, like, about the literature and how it affects people's minds and what's so. I will not answer it. If you want me to answer, I will answer it because I have my own answer.
Say something briefly, yes.
Okay. I want to give an example that you told us about. It's for J.K. Rowling, the writer of Harry Potter. 12 publishers refused her, and when the only one accepted her, they accepted her with initials because they wanted no one to know that she was a woman. And when it succeeded and they knew she was a woman, she spotted light on the issue that women can write, but they don't have the opportunity to do so. Sorry for that. That's why I think literature, yes, it's important, like it have an effect of people, especially if it's good, if it's brilliant, if it's like if it attracts people. That's how it can change people's mind.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. Briefly, Reem.
I want to comment on the king and the queen. I actually don't understand them. If they are really sad about the situation of Hamlet's madness, they would let both Hamlet and Ophelia be together again, and then this madness if could be solved. But if from the point of view of Ophelia, I still don't think that she loves him that truly, because if she does, maybe she would have done like a sign to him that be sure they are spying on us. Or at least Hamlet could understand that she still loves him, and because of this, she is not replying to him correctly or the way he
Okay,
is
so
expecting.
we have two interesting points here. Number one, if the interesting thing is that, like the question, why doesn't Hamlet take revenge very quickly? If he does, the play will end in scene one, in act one, scene three or four. So we don't have a play. If the king and the queen behave wisely and sanely, then we will not have a play. That's one. But also, those are people who, especially the king, he's blinded with what he did, and he is very المثل العربي بيقول كاد المريب أن يقول خذوني. So he was frightened. He was afraid of Hamlet. He was terrified of Hamlet. Remember when he finished his speech, he avoided talking to Hamlet. He wanted to speak to Laertes, for he wanted to distance Hamlet as much as possible. And yeah, I agree. If they leave Hamlet with Ophelia, so maybe he's going to forget his father, forget what happened to him. You know? So he starts a new life. Farah, finally.
Well, the my best part of the lecture that when Hamlet used
Can you say again? We can't hear you. What did Hamlet use? Okay, we lost Farah. Farah, we can't hear you. So you could upload your you could I'll upload the video and you can write your comment as a reply to this to the post. Thank you very much. Next session we have a very interesting thing to do, to be or not to be. We'll do the debates and we'll see your translations and recitations of Hamlet's fourth and most significant soliloquy. Thank you and see you next time. يعطيكم العافية.